operate in truth, right? Operate in truth. Tell the truth.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Gator Truth Florida Football Podcast. I'm Daniel, and on this episode, we're going to take a look back at the Gators' 49-17 loss to the Texas Longhorns this past Saturday in Austin. Well, to be honest, I said if the Gators are going to win, they're going to have to, get some shots from Warner. We're going to need to see some pop passes get to the edge, run really well, and we're going to need several turnovers, possibly a defensive score. Did not get the defensive score. We did get a turnover or two. But with that said, unfortunately, or maybe I'm wrong on the. Oh no, we did get a turnover at one point. Sorry about that. But anyways, very, very not good game, just to say. Offensively, I joked around before the game. For those of you that listened to the preview, joked around that we probably should, and I also kind of meant it, implement a lot of the 2013 South Carolina game plan of running Wildcat and letting Baugh and Jackson do their thing. We actually saw a little bit of it. But probably, in my opinion, should have seen more, especially once it was clear that Warner was not going to do too much. It is interesting that we didn't put in a former freshman All-American and Clay Millen once it was showing that it wasn't working, even if it was on a last drive or two, just to get him some game reps. I mean, once you're down 42-0, why not try and get some reps? With that said, Warner 12-25, 132 yards, average of 5.3 yards per attempt, but over 10 yards per completion. So there is that. 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Baugh and Jackson both with 19 carries. Jackson ended up 6.1 yards per carry with 116 yards and a touchdown, while Baugh had 88 yards for 4.6 yards per carry and a touchdown. The Gators as a team, after 7 yards of sack yardage against Warner, the Gators as a team running for 197. Now, that number is definitely inflated because once Texas went up 42-0 early in the fourth quarter, of course the backups come in and we were able to move the ball on their backups, and that just is what it is. Someone got mad at me for putting that on X the other day of it's a lot easier to put up 17 points or put up yards when the backups come in, early in the third quarter, but it's a factual statement. When the backups are in, your starters could probably do a lot more than against their starters, but that is what it is. Still, Baugh and Jackson, I thought, looked good even before that. Don't get me wrong. However, I think what we really needed to do was feed them, and many times we were not doing too much of that. So, unfortunately, that's where we were. I didn't see too many of the pop passes. Of course, pop pass, for those that may or may not know, we saw a lot of them with Graham Mertz, and that's where you have the guy coming across the line in motion, and you just toss the ball up. Ball travels like 1-2 feet in the air. Guy catches it, runs around, kind of like a jet sweep, except it's a completed pass. And very interesting, we didn't see as many of those as you would think, not just to help bolster a little bit of Warner, but also to maybe get some action from side to side to possibly open up room between the tackles. But that is what it is. Not the best day for the offense. 132 yards passing, 197 yards. That is the most yards that Texas has allowed all year. I see some people trying to spike the football on that. I don't think that's something that we can really spike the football on because, again, I don't know how many times Texas has been up 42-0 less than 5 minutes into the third quarter to allow as much offense against their backups. Doesn't mean it was absolutely terrible, but it was definitely a D+ effort. Yes, your quarterback's limited, but there's still things that you can do. I mean, Texas had a great play against us on a fake reverse, then fake the double reverse, then hit the third guy around, got a big play. And you know what that took from the quarterback? Handing the ball off to the third guy. So there are things that if you're creative, if you're the offensive genius that you've told everyone you are, that you can do to move the ball, and we did not do any of those things. DK led all receivers with 5 catches, 95 yards, long of 39. Again, no touchdown receptions. Mizell only getting 1 catch for 5. Jacoby Jackson 1 for 13. Boardingham 2 for 9. Ball 1 for 7. Burke 1 for 6. And Tank Hawkins 1 for a 3-yard loss. Now, of course, Jacoby Jackson also had a fumble for loss. And so we're going to kick over. We're going to talk about the defense real quick because I don't want to spend too much time dwelling on this loss, but it is what it is. We gave up 562 yards. That's just terrible. And yes, we're missing some defenders, but some of the defenders that were making the bad plays, Castell being one of them, he's a starter. Pup Howard, who's been phenomenal this year, I don't think he was the top guy for linebacker snaps and was actually tied with some other guys, if not lower, that really you think he should be getting a lot more snaps than. Now, some of that maybe he played less as the game went on. I do want to point out as far as time of possession, because some people may say, well, our defense got worn down. Well, at the end of the first half, the time of possession, and I made sure to tweet this, it was probably on my personal, but the Gators had 16.5 minutes of possession to Texas's 13.5 in that first half. End of the game, Florida had 32 minutes. Texas had 27 minutes. Florida was 32:06, Texas 27:54, which seems pretty close. But let's go ahead. Let's look at it to see how worn down was the defense by the end of the game, since they had it for almost 30. Texas had the game for almost 30 minutes. Texas's final drive, 8 minutes, 27 seconds. So Texas had only really had the ball for like 20 minutes before the final drive, 19 something minutes. And the reason why I bring that up is this is a defense we've talked about playing hard. This is a defense we've talked about fighting. This is a defense I think would at least keep the game somewhere near the spread of 21, 24 points. I saw different places, different spreads. And I don't think keeping the game around that spread is asking too much. I definitely don't think that 42-0 is acceptable. I mean, the final score, again, looks better than how the game was, and that's with Texas and Florida missing a kick. Texas didn't score on 3 drives in the first half. One of those was their missed kick, and then one, they ended up punting after missing 2 deep shots that they were there and just did not complete it. Nothing we really did to stop those deep shots, and that's really not great by us. Quinn Ewers, 332 yards. Arch Manning only threw 6 passes after he came in the game. He was 3 for 6, 19 yards, and no touchdowns. Quinn Ewers, of course, throwing for 5 touchdowns. Jared Gibson, former Florida Gator commit, 16 carries, 100 yards, 1 TD for the Longhorns. And, of course, he did have a fumble he lost. But, again, things are what they are. Steve Sarkisian, in his 4th year now at Texas, his 3rd year, he's in the playoffs. I say that because there was a tweet going around on X talking about how Billy and Steve Sarkisian had the same record through 2 and 3 years. That's just a lie. Like, it's not an accidental thing. It's an easy verifiable fact. It's just someone lying to lie. And so if you've seen that and if you believe that, don't believe the lie. Just don't. And with that said, we know how I feel. I'm sure someone's going to go to the comments and say, "What were you expecting?" I was expecting to at least not be down 42-0. I also tweeted, 2013, we faced Jameis Winston, who was the Heisman Trophy winner in the 2013 national champion Florida State Seminoles, with more injuries than we had going into this game. Now, I'd argue certain injuries here, unlike in 2013, weren't as big of a factor. Obviously, the quarterbacks for both big factors, but Montrell Johnson, I don't know how much better he does than a Jaden Baugh. I don't know how much better he does than a Jacoby Jackson. Obviously, some receiver injuries can make a difference. However, I'd say Manziel has shown the ability, big play ability, to fill in one of those spaces that he wasn't getting reps because he was behind a Trey Wilson or because he was behind a Badger. Again, not saying the injuries don't play a role, just pointing out that in 2013 there was a lot bigger injuries that we weren't able to backfill some of them as much, and we never were down 42 points. Heck, we were never down 35 points that season. Never even gave up 42 points in a game. And so that's really my sticking point. I said, let's get before the game, let's get the upset no matter how unlikely. And to do that, you got to play better defense. This defense didn't look like it came to play from the first whistle to the end. I mean, the offense was going to be what it was, but as much as we had on the defensive side, I figured it'd look at least a little better. That's on me. Again, no one out there, even the people saying, "What did you expect?" was sitting there saying we should be down 42-0 less than 5 minutes after halftime. If you did, show me where you put it. I will apologize, but I think that's a line more so just to cover what was yet another bad game. And it is what it is. Now we move on. We got Texas, followed by Ole Miss, who did upset Georgia. In fact, kept it multiple scores for most of the second half. So that's going to be a tough game. And they're coming off of a bye. We've got LSU coming off of a loss. I know a lot of people are talking about, well, they lost what they have to play for. So this should be a good time in LSU. And my response, again, things that I've tweeted, certain these are facts. I remember in 2016, 2017, they lost to Troy. Next week, they come in, they beat the Gators. 2022, Tennessee blows them out in Death Valley. They come in, they beat the Gators the next week. I remember 2020, nothing really to play for. We all remember the shoe toss and missing the field goal at the end of the game to tie. We lost to a bad LSU team. So I don't think simply because LSU's, lost to Alabama the week before we play them, that therefore we've got a much better shot. In fact, I think it makes them even more motivated. But we'll see. We'll talk about that in our preview coming up. But really, this is one of those games. Hopefully, we forget about it and just say that was an aberration and there are brighter days ahead. What I can say is there's no justifying being down 42. There are ways to do much better. And some of that is make your points. Some of that is just better play calling. And your defense showing up to play, because this defense showed at times they could slow or shut down this Texas offense, would do it for a play or two and then let a big play. But hopefully, again, this is the aberration of the season and that we do come to play against the remaining 3 teams on our schedule and we end up 7-5. The likelihood of that, of course, doesn't look good, but we can always hope as Florida fans. And so that's really I got to say on this one. I mean, if you're coming here looking for me to go off outside saying this was good or this wasn't, I'm not going to do that. But again, if you want to say, what did you expect? Well, maybe what we saw a lot in 2013 with more injuries, I guess, is what I could say. If this is a better coaching staff than that coaching staff, I would expect, no worse than 21, 24 point loss. I definitely wouldn't expect 42-0, 3 minutes into the second quarter before the other team takes or third quarter before the other team takes their starters out. With that said, thank you all for listening. And as always, go Gators.